Tanya Woo, thanks for coming back with me. We talked originally 2.5 months ago, which seems like a million years ago in this Stop Asian Hate era. So I wanted to get a kind of an update of talk about the people that you see in the international district and how people are feeling and how they are moving around and that sort of thing.
Of what we're seeing this past year, there's been a lot of graffiti still that we're seeing pop up every single day. A lot of minor crimes, thefts, burglaries, robberies, a lot of cars having their windows broken, um, and a big explosion in the homeless population, homeless residents. It seems like there's more tents and every single day, and because there are more people around, visitors, tourists, residents who are coming out, there is a lot of garbage that we're seeing, and it's just a lot of more of what we've been seeing this past year. But we're also seeing more people. We're still seeing a lot of like, because there are more people, there is a little bit more crime. Like just last month we had, you probably heard about the robberies at the different Asian supermarkets, where thieves are targeting elders who are walking to their cars with groceries in their hands, pushing them over and grabbing their purses and running away. And we were hearing it was quite an operation because they had a backup driver. They were scoping out these businesses, and so luckily they were able to apprehend one person. And we're just waiting to hear back to see if they were able to find out any more about that situation.
Is there more of that? And would you know about it? Would people say something about that?
The community knew because they had gotten a picture or make a model of the car, and they were telling people to be on the lookout for it. And then Community Watch, we walked out there to the Asian grocery store area during one of our Saturday walks and just kind of monitored the situation. And it was interesting to see that, we were standing there watching the parking lot, and then we were watching other people watching us watching the parking lot. And so, yeah, there is a lot of community involvement, and the police had put out a warning and to keep an eye out for this, and so people are vigilant. So there is a help, and there hasn't been anything organized quite like that since this was last month. But we are seeing the usual explosion in graffiti. We unfortunately found most of the graffiti that we've been seeing in the district, we weren't gang affiliated. Most of the people we were catching were kids, frankly. And we found our first gang affiliated graffiti in the district, which is quite unfortunate. So we're a little worried about that. We're keeping an eye out for that. We're hoping it's a copycat and not um, situation. And so we're also seeing, a lot of drugs because it's summer. People are out and about. They're looking for something to do. And during the wintertime, they were taking this kind of activity indoors, but now it's warmer. They're doing this outdoors. And so we're seeing a little bit of influx of needles in the district. And so we're hoping to keep vigilant and just hoping to keep people safe.
For the grocery type activities, how is there a way to get the word out to the residents, to those 1,000 seniors and residents? Is there a way that you're communicating, or is there a way? It's not like you can like Facebook or next door,
Oh yeah, that group.
like how do you communicate with them, or how do you know, or
So when we were hearing that this was happening, the supermarkets were offering escorts
yeah,
for
oh
people to
good.
their cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
nice. And
Great.
then we walked by and we were watching the situation, and we saw other people watching too. So the word gets by word of mouth. I mean, this is such a small community. It really, people talk, people spread the word. And then of course you've probably seen this in the news, but one of the art galleries, JANG'S art gallery, caught on fire. And what was really sad about that was not only, did he lose a lot of his art due to water damage from the firefighting efforts, but he was actually robbed 3 times after the fire. Like, people just were consistently breaking into his studio, and they knew what they wanted and they went straight for it. They knew what the expensive things were, which was quite unfortunate. Because Deng is like the heart and soul of our community. He's our artist who's done so much, and he for Chinese New Year's a couple years ago, he painted this pig, which gave so much joy and laughter to the community. People were like moving the pig around to different restaurants and taking pictures of it. It was awesome, and to see him, in so much pain for the loss of all his work was just really sad. Um, and so I think that kind of pushed people to start the Family Association Patrol group. We've been keeping an eye out on, we immediately went and bought fire extinguishers and kept an eye on fires. Um, and the really sad thing was that leading up to the JANG'S fire, there were several small little fires around the district. And so fires seem to be very destructive, and they are happening, and they're a big deal. And we're trying to keep account of them, and they've kind of, after that big fire, they've kind of not have been happening as often. But this is happening in our communities, and we just got to keep an eye out for it.
Is Chinatown, I mean, I think of Chinatown as like 4 blocks. Is it pretty much?
I don't see it as, I see it's a bigger community, because it's also, you have Japantown and Little Saigon, and then you have like all of that area in between.
Are you talking like 12th, where there's like kind of the really tough, like,
Yeah, 12th and Jackson and Charlton King. Yeah,
that's man, like that is really bad.
It's a lot of graffiti.
Well, I mean, just a lot of people hanging around all the time. When I came back from Cambodia after my trip, I was like, oh my God, I'm in a third world still. Like I could not, it was really so sad. Like, and I feel bad for all those businesses up there, because there's people just milling around stuff. Do you don't go up there, do you? When you
we go up there. So part of what we're doing, I mean, there's 2 different schools of thought. Like the older generation really want the homeless to leave the community, but the younger generation, I think part of our, because that's what kind of differentiates our 2 groups, our 2 watch groups, is that their generation, really is working really hard to try to move the homeless to a different location. But where the younger generation, I think we realize that they leave and then more come back. It's just, there's just never a solution, and there isn't anything in city government that can help the situation, and they're just always going to be there. So we've been trying to give them supplies, trying to, when we have food, we try to feed them, so they're not needing anything extra and going somewhere else. And so we've gotten to know quite a bit of the homeless residents. And yet there is a little bit on 12th and Jackson. There's like a little marketplace that kind of popped up last year.
Oh gosh.
Where people were selling things. Yep. And so we've gotten to know them, and they're friendly. They just have nowhere else to go at night, and so that's where they are. And we try to give them supplies and try to give them help. And I know that the city we have one counselor resource person who's trying to help them find housing and find food, but it's just one person, and there's just so many people. Like you drive through underneath the I-5, and it's just tents and people. It's a lot. Yeah,
I don't feel comfortable there.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think, I wouldn't recommend going there unless you have a group of people who are there, and unless you know the area and that where to go if something were to happen. It's an unfortunate and uncomfortable situation, and there's not very much we can do. There's a lot of, it's unfortunate, and I don't know what the solution would be, because no matter how much you remove them, they will always come back. And so it's just trying to see if we can help so that nothing else comes out of the situation, nothing bad happens. We go out there and we ask people, do they need help putting out their fires, because sometimes they start fires to keep warm, and sometimes we are afraid that might affect the community. We try to provide them with supplies, so they're not needing anything additional and looking for it in other
So,
places.
yeah, so it seems like fire extinguishers, if there was some donation of fire extinguishers, that would be
Mhm.
helpful in general. Is that?
Yeah, we have, we've gotten a donation of fire extinguishers. We have 4 or 5 in our bin, that we carry around with us, and they're quite handy.
Gosh,
But yeah,
it'd be so cool to like get Home Depot or Costco or somebody to throw in, hey, because it doesn't cost so much. That'd be
yeah, and so, yeah, part of our drive is that we're trying to get, or trying to, uh, try to fundraise for more resources, such as we were hoping to get like an AED machine for Chinatown and put it somewhere. Fire extinguishers you could place around the neighborhood, and then just other supplies that we come across.
Can you
Um,
so will you be making a wish list? Because I think if you like just like a wedding, make that wish
Oh
list
yeah, that's
out.
right.
And then so in kind, because let's say Home Depot or something, or maybe the McClendon's local. Maybe that's something that, okay, well, you need 20 of these. Okay. I would make it in kind list. And
Hmm.
maybe I'm gonna talk to Asunta. Asunta, if you're watching. And so Asunta
Oh,
is so
oh yeah,
great
she's amazing. Yes,
pulling in people. And I ran into John, her son, the other day at the
yes.
Asian market. I'm like, oh my gosh, how have I not talked to Northwest Asian Weekly yet? Didn't
Uh-huh.
didn't occur.
Yes.
So I make that,
They, yeah,
yeah.
they know what's going on and they're in the middle of it. So they're amazing resources.
So make that list out because I haven't tackled corporate. I'm working on city and neighborhoods, and I'm focusing on white neighborhoods to let them know what's happening because they don't know that
Hmm.
Asian hate is a problem. What about the youth? So last time we talked, there were some youngsters who were putting on the rally and doing things. What's the movement for the youngsters? Do you know what kind of things they're working on?
Yeah.
Youngsters, the 20s, the millennials. Yeah.
Yes, it's just so amazing to see advocates and people who are so young because, when we were young, we were so busy, with our nose bearing a book and, working on other things. It never occurred to me to, actually go out and do community service and to rally
Mm.
and to fight for justice and being treated equally. And so yeah, these youth are amazing, and it's so cool to see that they're still fighting and they're still working on things. I think they had they're many of them are still doing a lot of public events. They're doing talks, um, but they mostly have been working because we have an election coming up. They're working towards a lot of on political campaigns, trying
Oh,
to, yeah. So
okay.
they're volunteering, they're getting the word out, they're door to door, fundraising, and so trying to make a change on that level.
Okay, that is great to know because I haven't worked on the election piece yet. I'm working
Hmm.
on talking to mayors, council people, chief of police people in the local communities, and but I don't know what to tell them yet. But I can
Oh
plug into this young group.
What kind of world do you want to live in? America is a dangerous place. Hate is exploding everywhere. Asian Americans are being spit on, yelled at, urinated on. They're being hit with bricks and hammers and stomped on and shot dead while people are unaware of this. I still believe that if you knew this was happening, then you'd do something about it. Your support will amplify Asian voices and untold stories like this so people will know and can choose to do something. Daily lives of Asians are being devastated by hate. We need non-Asians to speak up. Your voice can be very powerful and you don't even know it. I spoke to a friend today who says, I don't have a megaphone. You don't need one. Just talk to the people you know. Start a conversation. Little bits matter. Join us to create safe neighborhoods. You can make a difference. Your contribution through Patreon will support videos and podcasts spotlighting Asian experiences. Together we can educate city officials, school administrators, and other community leaders. Look at the Patreon link below and on the About Me page. Don't wait. Stop the hate.
So congratulations on the 1 year on the community
thank you.
watch.
Yes.
And so are you doing the 4 days or 2 days? And what does that look like again?
So we're doing 3 days, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays. We meet at 9 p.m. at Hinghey Park. We walk over Little Saigon, Japantown, Chinatown. June 1st, we saw a new community patrol group get formed with all the family associations and different tongs. They're patrolling every single night from like 5 to 9 every hour. They walk around the Chinatown district. It's awesome. They got vests on. It's mostly the older generation. Our grandfathers, our uncles are out there walking around Chinatown, making sure that everybody's safe, which is amazing. And then, of course, in the news, there is also a resurgence of people who started a new Chinatown Chamber of Commerce, who are working with the city and trying to bring businesses back to life, trying to bring people back into the district. And they've gotten some cool help, cool perks from businesses and from everyone in the city to help, with that. And so I think we're seeing a lot of people who are really caring about the community, who were fearful because they weren't, because of the COVID, but now are coming out and doing what they can to help.
That is exciting to see, like, the older generation get out there. And so
Yeah.
the group, so we're talking like 70 to 90-year-olds like walking around. Is that
Oh yes, this is one like that. Yeah, we have like, I don't know how many
so cute?
family associations we have, but they all decided, they had a big meeting and they're like, we're going to start a community patrol group. And so, yeah, they meet every single night and they have help from some of the martial arts organizations. And so it's nice to see people out and about.
For the Community ID Watch group, your group, how many people are you having right now to walk around per shift?
We have at least 4, and it varies every single night because we don't go out unless there's 4, but we've been able to go out most nights. And so, yeah, and we still get new people who heard about us from you or from like media, and they're venturing from all over the place. We had people who drove down from Tacoma 2 weeks ago. And so it's just amazing to see how people still have us in their thoughts.
I love
Still
that. I
care.
didn't know that. So you could still use a few volunteers as well.
Yes, we could use some volunteers. And we could also use, we are officially a nonprofit within Washington State. And so we're able, for the first time, legally able to take donations. And so a lot of the donations we've been offered these last couple of months, we weren't able to accept from different groups and companies and organizations and from people. And so it's been amazing to be able to actually accept donations and put that money towards the community and supplies that we use on a nightly basis. And so we're starting, I think we're getting ready to do like a big fundraising drive for our birthday and just kind of slowly organizing that in the next couple of days or so.
You had mentioned that 1,000 residents, is that right?
1,000 seniors who live in the district. And
yeah, so how's it going for them?
Hinghey Park at 9 p.m. and we're slowly seeing seniors who are still out and about because during the summertime, their apartments get pretty hot in these buildings. And so year in the past, before COVID, we see the seniors sitting out at Hinghey Park, listening to Chinese opera in groups or just hanging out and just chatting late into the summer evening. And it's like nostalgia, something that we miss. And so we're seeing that very slowly, seniors in groups just walking around Chinatown, just trying to cool off, trying to get some exercise in. And, it's still busy into the evenings. And so it's great to see, Chinatown International District coming back to life.
Let's see how you were doing food. Were you doing food deliveries or helping?
Yeah, so we have an amazing group of donations. We have someone who donates food every once in a while, and then we go out, and the need is really great because we set up in Hinghey Park. We had this assembly line putting sandwiches together, and then the seniors would come by and what are you doing? And then we had people who were unhoused come up to us and go, we're so hungry, can we have one? These homeless shelters aren't feeding us because of COVID precautions, and so we're like, yes, please, this is for you. And so we give them this. And then, we had one person, we had a pie and they asked for it. They're like, can we have this pie? And we're like, oh, yes, please take it. And they were like, thank you. They mentioned something to the fact that if they had sugar, they won't take meth that day because the sugar helps them, bypass that craving. And so we're like, oh my gosh, yes, take the pie, and we'll try to bring you some more sugar later. And so there's a great need in the community. People are hungry. And so we were able to, we make anywhere from 30 to 40 meals, and they're just gone, and people are asking for more, and it's quite surprising. So we've been,
do you have a list of the volunteer needs that the actual services, like the needs, so like making or delivering, or
yeah,
can you create one?
we have an Amazon wish list that we've
Okay.
been sending people to on our website.
And how do we find all these resources? That are they on the community watch ID list, or how do you?
Oh yeah, so yeah, they're on the our website. We also
Okay.
have a list of resources of, if you're in a crisis, who to call, if you're suicidal, who to call, if someone needs help. We have a whole resource list of agencies that you can call that offer services. But the services or the items that we need, we have them as on wish list, and we're hoping that with our next fundraiser, our birthday fundraiser, that we're going to be able to fundraise enough money to be able to provide our own items and services and possibly food. And it doesn't take very much to feed 40 people. I think we went to Costco, and I think we spent about $25, and we were able to feed 30 people. And so
Wow.
yeah,
And so actually, I was thinking of a guy who makes lasagnas for people, and in the neighborhood where we're not needy. Um, what? So is it portioned? Like, how are your portions? Is it for one family, one person?
also one person. And then we put in supplies like water. There's been a huge, people are asking for wipes and socks and other things. We get requests for specific things. Someone might want like a backpack, or they might need a shirt, and we try to bring that to them the next day. And so just trying to fulfill.
And the audience
people's
for
needs.
that, it's homeless. Is not necessarily Asians. I mean, I'm sure there's some homeless Asians. I don't think I've seen.
Oh, there's some homeless Asians. Yeah, there's all kinds. It's so interesting. It's very diverse. And there, as with any communities, you get a whole different types of people. There are families who are there because they just can't pay rent, and they had some assistance with the CARE Act where they were able to get a hotel room through the county, but that has all but dissolved, and so we're seeing them back. There are people who just they talk to us, and there are some people who we are afraid of as well, there are people who are there to sell drugs, and we stay away from them. But they're not all scary. Some of them are just people we see every single week. We say hi and check up on them, and so we've gotten to know our community.
Tanya,
yes.
mass props to you. I am so proud of you for doing all this. And it's, it sounds very uncomfortable, at least for me, because I'm in the suburbs. And so thank you for all you do. It is inspiring.
Oh no, we have an amazing volunteer core group who really jump in for anything. I know there is like a community party that may be happening, and they were asking for security, and we wouldn't be able to do this without our volunteers, and they're willing to jump in. And if the Save Our Seniors needs volunteers, we try to reach out to our group, and so there are people who care and people who will come out, which is amazing. And every once in a while I get a big donation drop from Amazon, where someone, I think 2 weeks ago, bought out everything that we had requested, and a huge box showed up, and we were able to give it out all in one night. And then there are people who are consistently asking us, do you want food? Do you want this? Do you want that? And we're like, yes, we'll take it. And it's gone. It goes by so fast.
Tanya, I feel like, so I'll look at the website and look at some of those things. It seems like, Boeing, like it'd be like such a easy, like, it's not that much money. Like, I just feel like that should be easily taken care of. So I'm going to be doing a little thinking and talk to us.
Thank you.
Jacinta,
Yes. We'll be doing huge outreach once we get the whole fundraiser set up. We're just working things out since we're such a new nonprofit group.
And what is it? What's the official name then?
Oh, the CID Community Watch, Chinatown International
Okay.
District Community Watch.
Okay. Okay.
And so, yeah. And because we're so different than the other patrol group,
Mhm.
and we are talking to them, but we're not really affiliated with them. And also because of how dangerous what we do is, we've been trying to find a fiscal sponsor, but we're unsuccessful. So that's what kind of propelled us to, you know what, we're just going to start our own nonprofit. It's just no one's able to take us on because of what we do. And so it's awesome that, we're able to do this, and we're hoping to also buy insurance. So if anything would happen to our volunteers.
Do you have a pitch or proposal or something that you were looking for some fiscal backing? Do you have a package or?
No, not yet. We're kind of a scrappy little group. We just kind of put things together as we go.
Okay.
And so, but that's a good idea. I should probably look into that next.
Yeah, and
once
maybe
it's
look
settled.
into the people who are running for council too, maybe. Like some of the
Yes.
folks running. I mean, there's extra incentive, like to do something. And the new Chinese chamber, like maybe there's something.
Yes. I think they're still coming together and
Mhm.
getting organized and putting their charter together. And so we're just kind of letting them, just waiting to see where they land. And then we learn the importance of making sure that our values line up with whichever group that we're affiliated with, because there's just so many different opinions
Yeah.
within Chinatown. So we're just kind of waiting to see where people,
Yeah.
where people want to go.
I get what you're throwing down. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yes, there's a lot of politics, surprisingly, and a lot of intergenerational differences. So,
Well, I'm sure different ethnicities too. Like I was just shocked. I was like, "Hey, isn't your dad really involved in the Vietnamese community?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's also a supporter of some other person. I'm like, "What?"
oh no, yes, that happens. Yep. Yes, it's
Yeah.
it's but I think it takes everybody in the community, all types of voices, with
Mhm.
all different opinions to enact change. We need everybody to speak up, to and just we all care about public safety, and we all care about as a collective justice, and just being treated equally. So I mean, no matter what our different opinions are, I think it just takes everyone to speak up.
Good attitude. I'm not so tolerant, Tanya. I mean, that's the goal. Not right now. Not right now, but good for you.
Yes.
I've got a question back into crime. I need to have my aunt fill out the Stop Asian Hate incident she had, and I need to fill one out. I just, there's so many that we haven't
Yes.
done anything because we don't have the license plate and there's no footage. So it's not a police situation, but, I know that I haven't even done it. Um, for people that that have had some situations, is it hard to get them to fill out at least the Stop Asian Hate form?
Yeah, it's still happening. Like, we still get questions about it, about a couple every week, or every 2-3 weeks we get a question. Hey, this happened to me. Someone yelled at me, called me a racist term. What do I do? What can we do? And it's quite surprising, but it's awesome to hear that people are speaking out and wanting to do something. And so we tell them, if you're comfortable, maybe if you're not, do something on the local level. We refer a lot of people to the Chinese Information and Service Center, because they are part of the King County Coalition Against Bias and Hate. And so these different organizations, there's a couple of Vietnamese Muslim organizations where they can, if an elder or senior or somebody's uncomfortable, they can call these organizations, keep them confidential, take the report in their language. Like, I know Chinese Information Service Center has speakers in Cantonese and Mandarin who could talk to people who are not comfortable speaking English, and maybe who are uncomfortable, relaying their immigrant status. They will take this information and try to provide them with other services on the local level, as well as reports on the King County level, so that we have a record of what's happening here.
People only believe numbers. They don't believe anything else. And so we have to do this. So I want to make sure to let Asians know, okay.
Yeah, it's still happening, and we got to report it. My friends mom had an incident happen, she doesn't speak in English, call it in, talk to somebody, because it's so scary to be suffering in isolation. It's good to talk about it and to let people know that this is not going away.
And your aunt needs to fill out that form, the Stop
Yes.
Asian Hate form.
Yes, I believe she has. I sent her a whole bunch of links. And
okay, well, confirm on it, because
okay, yeah,
probably we don't really know, and I'll do it with my aunt too.
Yes.
And so on my side, I have Empowered Asians, and so I'm meeting with them tomorrow night every week, and there's been some really important stories there, and these are stories that people don't hear. And if you hear of stories, because I want to illustrate the different expressions of hate. For example, last night I talked to this Thai American guy, and he was asked to hey, for our church, can you share about Stop Asian Hate? Because the other people who wrote articles were white, talking about it. And so he was asked, and he was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'll share my experience. And then he was shut down for sharing his experience. And so now he's leaving the church because, the people had shut him down and made him, victim blaming, and they centered, anyways, just, and there's all this kind of hate where nobody stabbed anybody here. But leaving a church 13 years and being accused of being the bad guy for sharing your lived experience. And so I do want to share these with people, because I just feel like some people are going to care about that and start to understand, okay, this is more than just a killing and a stabbing, which people don't seem to care about. But it's so much more insidious than that. So if you hear of different stories, and they can be anonymous too, I can interview them and blank out their face, or just get their audio, or whatever it is, because we need these stories. And particularly like where you're at in Chinatown, I'm in the suburbs, but I think you probably are around it, maybe more. And one of the guys, he was attacked 3 times this last year, and he was stabbed. He was attacked by 5 people, and by 2 people, and by 1 person. But I'm getting a hard time getting his story. So I think there's a lot of that going on. And so people think there's no violence or nothing happening because they don't see it. So if you hear of those, I would love to be introduced. And you can also say, and also it could be anonymous. It's just a matter of getting a real authentic story that's local.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I think we believe victims, but the really hard part of it is because with how the hate crime bill is treated with police, unless the offender said something racist verbally, something is not considered hate crime. And so a lot of people are like, oh, well, that wasn't considered hate crime, but it was. And so I think it's a big fight, especially in the municipal level, police level, categorizing these things correctly. And so I think a lot of people, it's pretty bad, because a lot of people, they come out and they tell their story and they're like, it's not a hate crime, but it is a hate crime. And so it's a huge obstacle, I believe, sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. So tomorrow night with Empowered Asians, we're talking about gaslighting, and like the top 10 things that people say, why's it got to be about race? It wasn't racially motivated. It was a crazy person. Oh, you're taking it too seriously, and all these things, because I think people who say them are not aware of what they're saying and what the impact is.
Yes, they're not aware of their implicit biases.
Yeah, and so we're discussing that, but for the people who just don't realize, I just dismissed you, I didn't realize that, so trying to figure out how to communicate back. And what we'd want people to say, when I say this happened to me, I want you to say, to listen. And not
yes, exactly.
No, that didn't happen to you. You're probably imagining. It's like, no. I feel what I feel, and listen to me. So,
yes, the stats are all there. They've done studies on this. Like, being an Asian woman, we have to prove our competence, and we have to prove that we are not invisible compared to a white man. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll have the stats tomorrow, but yes, it's totally happening. I mean, they've done studies on this, and I think, bringing this out in conversations, it makes people uncomfortable and makes people face things that they're uncertain about. But that's the whole point, is to get people to talk about this, start dialogues, have people face their biases, which, we all have. And so that's what's amazing about what you do. Just to get people talking.
Tanya, it's a slog, but I'm telling you, like, it's rewarding, like for the Asians who they're like, oh my gosh, I've been, ostracized. Like, I'm like, me too. Like, welcome to the club. And so it's exciting to provide this safe place where they can spill their guts and also share, because we're not alone. Like, some of us have lost most of our friends because we're in white communities and they just lost them. So it's important. And then getting these stories from the Asians to share with my Asian allies, and my Asian allies, it's growing. I mean, it's slow, but I'm every person who's not Asian who like is listening, I'm like, oh my gosh, one more person who might care. So
it's great that people are listening and they're talking about this, and hopefully if they see it happen, they'll do something and say something and stand up and let people know that, they're supportive. It helps a lot.
I want more than that, Tanya. I minimum see something, say something. I want people to say something before it happens and say, hey, not in our neighborhood. And I'm not sure what the solution is, but whether it be a Stop Asian Hate sign or some inclusive sign and some training with it, to also watch out for online when people already say, oh, that person was probably crazy. Oh, that was just a one thing. That doesn't really happen here, because when each time people say that, that is contributing to the problem and making me feel silent and dismissing. So I want proactivity. So the people who have the power, I want them to be proactive and convince their other white friends that, silence is violence. You have to make this problem go away. You have to be proactive, because it's ramping up. I just, the other day I saw the guy who was on his bicycle, and stabbed the person from his bicycle, and that's a new one, right? Because their stabbings like nonstop. But stabbing on a bicycle, that's a new one. There's,
oh my gosh.
there's so many.
That's
so
kind of ridiculous in a way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're very careful when we go near under the I-5 bridge, because a lot of people who live there are very territorial, and we try not to get too close to their property or to their tents, because we know that they will try to defend themselves and defend their areas. And sometimes when we accidentally, we forget and we get too close, then we sometimes are afraid that these situations might happen where there might be a fight. And so just having to be mindful and careful and keeping your distance, keeping your eyes out, and watching out for each other.
Well, I want you to have more than 4 people. I'd feel better if you had 8 people each time. I personally would feel better for you. We'd
love to have more people. We'd love to be able to be out every single night, have volunteer capacity to do that. But I think our one true wish is to cease to exist. Like, the fact that they won't need a community patrol group.
Yeah.
That would be our wish. But, I don't know if that is going to happen anytime soon. Yeah. So until then, we're still around, and there is a senior patrol group who is also out walking around.
Well, thanks for taking the time, and we'll check in maybe in a month or 2 and see how peaceful and how everybody's getting along. And it's going to be a great interview. It's going to be this nice, beautiful, safe interview.
Yes, and it'll be summer, and hopefully there'll be some amazing changes and some great, opportunities and community events. We're just so excited and waiting for those to come back.
Yeah, thank you.
But thank you for doing all this. This is amazing, and I'm so glad that you're doing this. You're like the only one I know, and so I'm so absolutely thankful and appreciative.
Yeah.
Can you support me in stopping Asian hate? Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell. And join Patreon. Look at the links below. Thank you.